Guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Jay. I was going to, or I should say, I am going to show you fun card with the Crafty Stamp Crew's Stamp Co's Crafty Crew Kit of the month. This is the one for November, which, if you're watching this, is available for pre-order until October 15th. And I really don't mention enough how nice these paper sleeves are because you can keep everything together. And today I actually used it to keep all my little die cuts and bits and pieces together. So I thought it would be fun to do one of my favorite cards, which is a Z fold, which is a fun fold, but it's super easy to do. It's just half a sheet of paper, and then in addition to your 4 1/4 inch score line, just put another one at 2 1/8, and then you have a nice little thingy. And then I cut out two 3x4 panels, which will basically serve as our place for our focal piece. So all we really need to do is pick a paper because I started a little bit early. I did a little stamping of our sentiment. Happiness is a hot mug on a chilly day. It's, of course, not chilly currently in southern Wisconsin. It's like 88 for some reason, even though it is October. And then I did do a little coloring of the Fall Vibes Meadow. So we have that. And I think it's going to work really well on a. What I'm going to do is she's a little. I may move her down a little bit and then just cut off any excess, but I think we'll be just fine. I did some Copic coloring on her. And the thing I like about this is you have all this space to potentially showcase pattern paper. So I think it'll be really good for this pumpkin one. Just because it's uh, a pretty vibrant pattern. So breaking it up, I think, will be a good thing. And then I want to kind of pull another orange color, I think. So I'm going to grab also the uh, paper with the orange sweater on it, which is not that one. There is this option as well, which was a good one. But I believe we also have the orange in a sweater pattern. Here it is. Okay. Similar pattern, just with the sweater vibes, which I don't know. I think either would work really well. But for today, I think we will go with this one. My plan is to use the more vibrant pattern as our base, and then this one slightly less so for the side panel here. And we will lose a lot of both of these papers with our focal image, but that's kind of how it goes. So I'm going to cut this at 4 inches, and then again, it's 5 1/4, just to do our normal sort of matte A2 matte layer. Oops. It helps when you cut it all the way through. So there we go. So what we're basically going to do is put this here, and then we'll put a smaller panel in the center for a place to write your message. There's that. I just love with these Crafty Stamco papers how everything is just nicely coordinated on a color standpoint, which I really like. So this is 2 1/8. So if we want a 1/4 inch border around this, um, we have to do math. So a quarter less than 2 1/8 would be 1 7/8. So the math on these gets a little strange, but of course your vertical math is pretty straightforward because you're just doing 5 1/4, just like you would. Um, if no one has said so, I hope yesterday everybody had a fantastic world card making day. So what we're going to do is put this one here and put this one here. And you can use either dry or wet adhesive, depending on your preference. I'm using dry adhesive just because it makes the whole process a lot easier with no dry time. But I often use both. And I do like having the border. So there we go. We're going to do the neck. And you could actually do it this way if you wanted a nice color variance, or you could do this with the same way if that's your jam. I really like this paper. We're in the process of gluing down. I like this alternate side a lot too because it's very sort of a tealy blue, which is one of my favorite colors. So the base of this card comes together quite easily. And now kind of comes the fun part because we get to decide what we want to do as a background for our friend Meadow. Now we could do nothing, which would look kind of like this. I feel that's a little stark. I would like another pattern or potentially to reuse one of the other ones. The other option is we could just do put white behind her and probably just ink blend in some blue. Let's do that. I kind of like that as an idea better. So let us hope that we have. Oh, we do have some. We have my favorite blue, in fact. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a background, just because I always find white is just sort of stark by itself. And they were just gonna pull in a little bit of blue. We don't really actually have to worry about anything in the middle because Meadow will be there and she will cover things up. And I just like to do a little bit of, and then I'm going to bring in a little more ink around the sides just because she'll look more spotlighted if she's lighter and everything else is not. So with the rest of this, I'm keeping it fairly light, but I want to come back in, I think, and just do this top area a little bit more just to create kind of a gradient. Because if you look at the sky, it's much darker at the top than at the bottom. So we're just sort of trying to mirror that here. As you probably saw, like I got sort of a harsher line there, but really the secret to that is just bringing a little more ink, and we are pretty much done. And that will allow Meadow to shine, which is always really nice if because I tend to be a speedier colorist, but a lot of people put a lot of effort in. Yeah, so I think we're going to cut off some of her feet here to get her to, but I think that's going to look really nice. So I think we can just take some wet glue and glue her down. I actually have a funny story about her. Her beverage, which you might be able to see sparkles a little bit, was originally going to be just latte foam, and I was doing that with a mica texture paste. However, I didn't realize that my brush still had a bit of purple ink. I was doing some swatching. In fact, if you watch my channel, you probably saw it a while ago. Um, and we're just going to cut off any remainder. You could let her hang off here, but I don't know. I kind of like the clean line look. And we have, there we go. So it's always nice when you kind of have a moment like that. And I'll just continue with the glue just because I have it out. I'm just going to glue her down here. We do have a sentiment we can think about as well. And this is a little tricky to line up just because it's brown, but you can always bring it over here and sort of see where, there we go. That is pretty good. We're going to essentially close the card and then decide where we want her and then just glue her down like that. I do have a sentiment that I'd like to bring in. Since this is a really small, uh, that's not what I want. Here we go. Since this is going to wind up having a pretty small writing area, I think I want to put the sentiment um, on the front of our card. So that is here. Let me just grab a little bit of some brown to get our sentiment on. Let me just rough cut that out, and then we can, of course, trim it later. I think I want to go for a similar sort of amount of border here as we have with Meadow, which is to say not a lot. So what I'm going to do is pull in my white just so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And I just pre-stamped that out for time, but if you were doing this not on a video, you can certainly take a little bit more time and play around with your positioning. There we go. And sort of the trick to cutting more evenly is to basically keep watching where you want things to be, not where they are. Kind of like driving. And I'm just going to trim off this side a little bit, just so we're a little more even. What I'm thinking is we'll just have this floating kind of here, because it covers up a coloring oopsie. But I do like things that sort of hang off like this, because it kind of breaks the visual line and makes things a little bit more interesting. So kind of the last thing before final assembly I'm going to do is get our white piece for our writing area um, put together. This also there's not a lot of border on it, but just a little. There we go. And generally what I do is I get the front together and then you can use liquid glue and sort of position this part wherever it's not showing. But I think we're going to perhaps put her up a little bit so there's plenty of room for the sentiment. So I think I'm going to sort of center this whole thing. Oh, I do like it like that. That looks cool. So I think I'll do it this way, which is the sort of the reason to not put down your secondary piece. I think I'm going to off center this a little, so I'm going to do it kind of like that. So I'm pretty much going to get glue just along the side. I think we're still sort of shooting for the center, but we want her a little higher so this looks balanced. Let me put the sentiment on. And the cool thing is because this Crafty Stamp Coat paper is coated, we do have some fudge time. And the rows of knitting actually make it a lot easier to line this up straight. Then I am going to do the same thing here, which is to just put a little glue on the top where I know it's going to be covered and on the side where I know it's going to attach, just so that we don't obscure anything. You can, of course, use paper shims if you want to. Because we're gluing to our colored panel, this will actually grip a lot faster. Let me just make it easier to see. And there's our meadow. So really the only thing left to do here is get down our message piece. And we could put this in the middle if we want to. I like to just sort of guesstimate it and then close it quickly. There we go. That's fine. And then put it down. This will be a little bit higher. Basically, I just knew that I needed to be higher than meadow. And there we go. And then once this is closed, you can't see the panel. And then when it opens up, you see it. So um, that is our fun little card with Fall Vibes Meadow. It's is thing that's cool is as a Z fold, it can just stand up. So it's really great for displaying on a mantle, which I think is always our goal as card makers. And there you go. I would say if you're interested in the products, they are available to order through the 15th of this month. Info is down below. If you use my referral link, or I should say, if you use my affiliate link, it costs you nothing extra, but makes me uh, know that you support me. So that's always cool. So thanks for checking this out, and I will talk to you again in our next video.